ATG for surfing. Let's go. So there are actually a ton of exercises within the ATG system that are hugely beneficial for the world of surfing. But there are a few standouts that I wanted to point out with you today. And yeah, you guys can give them a try. So just like many other sports or activities, surfing puts your body in these kind of suboptimal anatomical positions, if you will. So for example, when you're on a surfboard, let's say you're going down the wave, a lot of times you end up crouching and are kind of in this kind of little funky position. And if your knees and ankles and feet aren't ready to handle this, then a lot of times you can end up with all sorts of weird pains after your session. So we can't talk about ATG without talking about the ATG split squat, which addresses nearly every single part of the body that I just talked about. So with the ATG split squat, you're standing in this kind of lunge-like stance. You're going to be driving your knee forward as far as it can go, basically until your hamstring covers over your calf, keeping your torso nice and upright, and then coming back from that bottom position. So what you're doing right here is you're actually strengthening all the connective tissue in and around the knee, not just the muscle belly, but prepping the tendons for these, what do you want to call it, like to be functionally tolerant in these funky positions that you may find yourself in. In sports in particular today, I'm talking about surfing. So you're prepping your knees to be strong in these positions, coming in and out, just flexing and extending. You're also getting a nice strong work done in your ankles and feet as you're going through these full ranges of motion. And as a bonus, when you're at the bottom of your split squat, you're also getting a huge stretch in that back leg hip flexor area. So if you kind of tend to have bad back pain after a surfing session, a lot of it has to do with tight hip flexors. So while you're working on your split squats, working your ankle range of motion, strengthening your knee, the connective tissue all around here, you're also getting a bonus in stretching out that hip flexor, which many times can be the root cause of a lot of back pain. One of my favorite things though about the ATG split squat is that it's so extremely scalable to any level. So you don't need to just straight hop down onto the floor and do what I was doing over there. You can start out somewhere like up on a bench, for example. It could be a workout bench. It could be a park bench. It could just be anything that you could put your foot on. It could be stairs if you have stairs at your house. But you apply those same exact principles. All you're doing, getting some time under tension with that connected tissue in and around the knee, kind of flossing in and out of here, keeping that torso upright. Once you feel comfortable with that, you can start lowering, finding a lower elevation. If you have stairs, again, it's very easy because you just go the next stair down. In my case, I have some steps here. So again, I'm not on the floor, but I'm still getting some excellent tension in and around the knee to train that connective tissue. Again, it's not just my knee either. It's the knee, the ankle, your feet. You can see my back foot, my back toes are getting some tension, as well as that back leg hip flexor. So again, you can go even a little deeper here. You're going down. Just scale it to whatever your level is, as long as you're not working through pain, I should say. And then eventually you can start getting onto the ground, and then if you have something to load with, you can grab some weights and start doing your split squats loaded. Literally no rush, but just to show you an example of how flippin' easy it is to scale this exercise to whatever level you're at. I almost forgot to mention that if you have issues with balance as well, you can just use a couple of PVC pipes, a broomstick, the side of a wall, a chair, whatever. Put them on either side of you. Get your foot up onto that elevated surface if you need it. Same thing. You're getting that knee over toe, great tension in your knee, just flossing in and out of these positions. And once you're good with balance, you can ditch these things and start going the route that I was showing you earlier. Now here's another magical exercise. So one other big aspect of surfing is, unfortunately, you spend a lot more time paddling, at least for the majority of us. We spend a lot more time paddling than we do actually up onto our board. So what tends to happen is surfers end up getting super strong shoulders, but they're really strong in this paddling and pulling motion right here, which actually can cause a funky imbalance, because a lot of today's modern living, we also end up in this forward position, whether it's like in your car, on your phone, computer, everything. So it's almost like getting stronger in these wonky positions. So if you look at me from this angle, this is kind of funny little angle. You're paddling here. What would be the opposite of this? It's going this way. And this, my friends, is called the Trap 3 raise. So you get yourself, if you have access to a 45-degree back extension, majority of gyms have these. You hold yourself in this angle where your torso is aligned with your legs, your arms are out in front of you, elbows locked out. You raise up overhead while keeping your elbows locked out. You end up with your arms about 45 degrees apart from each other, and then you come back down with a nice slow eccentric, really controlling your arms, going up again, and not just flopping down, but you're up and controlling and owning this movement. And just like any of these exercises, they can be scaled. You can start adding some weight, so grab yourself some dumbbells. You're gonna, again, go up till your arms are in line with your body, and nice, slow, controlled eccentric on the way down. One other cool little bonus with these Trap 3 raises is it not only addresses the funky shoulder position that you can get into, and it unglues all of that to help get your shoulders nice and healthy, but it also keeps your back nice and strong. So let's say you're out, let me grab my board here. So you're out in the water paddling, right? There's a wave behind you. You're paddling to catch it. Now you're getting ready to pop off of the board to stand up on your board. So you end up in this position. You can call it global extension. So you're here, getting ready to snap back up. And one cool thing about this Trap 3 raise that we talked about is it's not just strengthening your shoulders, but it's actually hitting your back as well. Upper, middle, and lower traps all cover your back. So when you're propping up like this, you're getting ready to snap. So you snap up, boom, you're in that position ready to ride the wave down. But funky thing is if your back's not strong enough to hold that position, it can cause all kinds of weird tweaks. So that's where the Trap 3 raise comes in as a amazing exercise, because again, you're not only strengthening your shoulders, kind of getting a balanced shoulder position from all the paddling forward that you're doing, but you're ungluing that position, but then you're also strengthening your back muscles to be able to handle all these funky positions and snapping up on your board, all these things that will help you in the sport of surfing. Sorry, I cut myself off. But now I'm going to show you the third and final movement of the video that I think is the mother of all knee stability exercises. And especially in the world of surfing, where you're balancing on water, which is not the most stable thing in the world, it really helps for injury prevention to have some stability within your knee to be able to handle that unstable surface that you're working with. By the way, if you find any of this content useful or helpful, go ahead and give me a like and comment down below some of your favorite exercises for surfing. And of course, subscribe if you want to follow me for some more little tips like this. So this exercise is called the Nordic hamstring curl. The split squat that we talked about earlier in the video, sure, it works a little bit of your hamstrings in the back of your knees, but it primarily works a lot of the musculature and connective tissue, put some good tension on the front of your knee. So the Nordic hamstring curl actually does the opposite in the way of it focuses a lot of the tension on the back side of the knee. With the Nordic hamstring curl, what you're basically doing is you're training all the connective tissue and musculature behind the back of your knee to be able to handle your body's weight through all sorts of different, high tension demanding positions, which can be in all sorts of sports. But again, what we're talking about here is the world of surfing, where you're trying to create stability at a joint in a very, very unstable surface, being that it's water. So you're trying to control the eccentric, you're not trying to flop down, try to keep your body in line, then you're trying to pop back up, trying to again keep your body in line as much as possible, nice and controlled. on the way down and back up. So just like any of these exercises that I just showed you, the Nordic is also very scalable. I wish I had some videos to show you because my first attempt at these Nordic exercises were ridiculous. I don't have any video, probably because it was so embarrassing. But I was able to work my way up to being able to do Nordics unassisted, and it has been a game changer. Literally, this was the exercise that made my knees just buttery smooth, and I feel like I could not get into any kind of compromising position. Before, my knees would tell me like, oh, it's probably time to get out of this position before something bad happens. But once I started to get strong in these Nordics, everything totally cleared up. So again, going back to scaling this exercise, I've seen many different ways of scaling, but one of these ways is you can use a band, attach it above your head. I don't think you can see it, but it's above a pull-up bar above my head. You can hold the band, and you can do the same exact thing that I was doing without the band, keeping your hips nice and open, nice and controlled. You can bring your way up, bring yourself up, I should say. But one thing I do want to point out with this exercise is it's way more important for me, or in my opinion, that you just own the eccentrics. Popping up from the bottom is awesome. It's a cool expression of the strength that you have behind the knee. But majority of the stability, it comes from just being able to control yourself on that downward portion. So yeah, just own the downward portion before even attempting to pop up from the bottom. Just want to get that out of the way. But then there's also a couple ways that I've seen people scale these Nordics, where they use a pole, and you can just basically plant the pole out in front of you, and if you don't have access to a band or something overhead, you can kind of walk your hands down the pole as you get down to the bottom, and then obviously you come back up from there. So that's with the pole. But then there's also a way that instead of keeping your hips open, by just bending a little at the waist, you're not going to get the same range behind the knee to work in, but it is going to allow you to get some sort of tension in those tendons behind the knees. If you just keep the hip at that same angle, just go back down and back up, and as you get better, you just open your hips up a little more until you can full on go hips open all the way to the mat or floor, wherever you're working at, and then back up. Yeah, again, super scalable. Own the eccentrics before even popping back up. So I want to point something out that's probably glaringly obvious to a lot of you guys, is that not a lot of gyms carry a Nordic bench like this one to be able to perform or practice these exercises. Hopefully Ben Patrick, the knees over toes guy, will start popularizing these things in a way that these commercial gyms will start carrying these things, because I think they're super, super important. And if you're interested, I'm going to put some links in the description of this specific Nordic bench, and as well as some other equipment that I will highly recommend to invest in if you're interested in this stuff. But let's go ahead and give you an alternative for a Nordic curl if you don't have access to it. Just plain old back extensions are an excellent way to prep the connective tissue behind the knee. Even though it's mainly working the muscles in your back, which is amazing also for surfing for the reasons that I addressed with those trap through raises. But you're also getting some excellent tissue in those hamstrings and the connective tissue all up and around the backs of the knee. And here you have your classic just hamstring curl machine. And a cool little trick with this is if you want to go heavier, you can just go 2 legs up, take 1 leg away, and 1 leg down, really controlling those eccentrics. Because again, that's where that stability training really comes from. And again, you can go 2 legs up, take 1 away, and 1 leg down, nice and controlled. All right, my friends, that is my top exercises within the ATG program that I find extremely useful for the sport of surfing. Again, these exercises can be used for injury prevention, to start to increase the performance in your sports, And also, in a scaled back version of these exercises can be a great tool for just rehabbing and getting back into surfing if that's where you're at right now. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it and have an awesome day.